What up, guys? Coach Colin here. We're doing episode 1839, Duncan Trussell, Joe Rogan. Right now, they're about to talk about something that's very interesting, as they always do when they're together, about how people always need conflict and resolution constantly going on in their life. And they touch on some really interesting things. I think you're going to really enjoy it. I'm Coach Colin, coolest high performance coach in the world. And if you want the best insights to the podcasts and videos you love, you came to the right place. Now hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000. Come join me. Let's go. And there's a special fun thing that's happening at 1,000. Can't tell you what it is. Let's go.
You know, as a byproduct, that's going to be healing.
Yeah.
You know, but as a goal, you know, in other words, like if I'm going to take these things and the goal is, all right, here we go. I'm going to confront the great demon of myself. That's going to be a weird trip.
It's also you're kind of summoning that demon.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
some people just don't feel good unless they're in conflict and resolution.
Yeah.
They need conflict and resolution.
Right.
It's a thing. It's like,
yeah, man.
It's not just that the universe throws you curveballs, because it most certainly does. We all have had things happen to us, most certainly that we did. It's not our fault. But there's also people that seem to not just attract, but they seem to pursue conflict and resolution.
Yeah, that's right, man. It gives them a sense of form.
Instead of like, and oftentimes those people are not doing as well in the rest of their life as they should be. Like maybe there's like a potential not reached, you know, maybe there's like something about them. They can never lose that 20 pounds. There's always something about them, right?
Yeah.
And then instead of like dealing with that, they choose to sidetrack themselves with a conflict.
Oh yeah, that's
conflict.
Cool.
And you know that guy that like all of a sudden starts doing drugs, and you're like, hey man, I thought you didn't do drugs anymore. I don't. I mean, I'm gonna stop, but now I'm back on it for a little bit. Like, okay, it's like, why is that guy doing that?
Right.
If you talk to guys like Gabor Mate, they all say trauma. There's something
right.
You're avoiding, right? So like also, I think it's people are scared of reaching their full potential. So sometimes when people are scared of the expectations of their full potential, they want to derail themselves,
right?
So that it relieves some pressure.
Sure.
And so they just start smoking crack.
Yeah, fear of death, man.
Yeah.
You don't want to die.
Yeah.
You have, because of whatever the roll of the dice was, you've had a rotten life, and not you, but some people have had it really bad, and from that a certain personality emerges.
Yep.
The survivor, the whatever it may be. But I guess somewhere there's a recognition that should I shift universes and no longer be in this place, should I get better, heal, whatever you want to call it, then this thing that I am right now, all freaked out, neurotic, scared, paranoid, angry, as painful as that is, it's me. And should I like really wake up and drop all that stuff, it's a form of death, right? So just what you're saying. Yeah. So instead of dying, they do this weird, sad attempt at like immortalizing their neurosis by creating self-imposed fucking traps and tricks. It's ignorance. In Buddhism, it's called ignorance. It's one of the root poisons. Like what causes suffering is aversion, desire, ignorance. These are the three roots of the whole problem. And ignorance is what you're talking about. Actively ignoring what's right there in front of you.
Avoiding.
Yeah, avoiding. Exactly.
You're avoiding it. And you avoid it oftentimes. Oh, I started drinking again. Shit. Smoking cigarettes again. Shit.
Yep.
You know, that's a lot of times what it is. You're avoiding. It's like getting better at stuff and getting better at life, improving upon. Everybody wants to think they're improving. No one wants to think they're falling apart.
Right.
Right? And there's a lot of pressure on that.
Not admitting where you're at.
Yeah.
Just where you're at's where you're at. I mean, that's like the first step. That's the first step. And by the way, where you're at, if you're honest about where you're at, it's already a better place. Like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to jog or like pick up a fucking dumbbell or whatever. Just the first step of like, oh shit, my life is fucked up right now. Things are out of order here. Like, just that alone. Anytime I've done that, when I've just finally like dealt with it, immediately you feel better. Immediately you feel better. And then that's when you go and get a drink.
Try some of this.
That's when you get a drink. And it's so funny. Like, I love the fact that they bring this up, because people do that all the time. Like, the most rawest form, or the most oversaid thing, is that some people are afraid of success. And that's exactly what they're talking about. It's like, if I get better, if I quit doing drugs, if I get my life together, if I get a job and I start doing right by my wife, all of a sudden it's like you lose that part of yourself, which is so familiar, and then you have to step into this other part that has so much responsibility. And then it's like, and if by chance that old version of myself steps into all this while I'm doing well and I'm successful, I lose all that success. And that's why people become really afraid of becoming successful, because they're afraid they're going to fuck it all up, And so many times you see it. Somebody will continuously live at home. They won't move out. Like, they refuse to move out on their own. Some people refuse to live by themselves. They'll constantly live with like roommates and stuff, and they don't want to live by themselves because they know all of a sudden they have this full responsibility. They have to take on the full amount of rent. They now have to clean the place. They can't turn to anybody else and be like, oh, I can't believe you didn't do the dishes. Now it's all on them. But if they would just like step into that, there'd be a lot of success. So they're afraid of that success. It happens all the time. And it's such a good example with the drugs. It's like, and I've felt this so many times, and maybe you have too if you've ever been addicted. It's like, when you're so caught up in addiction and doing drugs, you're like, the thought of quitting is like, who am I going to be after? Like, I remember like when I quit smoking weed, it was like, I don't even know when I really like to eat. I don't even know what it's like to drive without being high. I don't know what it's like to interact with people without being high. I don't know what it's like to go through strenuous activity. Like, I don't know anything in this world of being sober. It was almost like sober was like some kind of a high, because I didn't understand what was going on. And every single time I would get close to quitting, I would get close to getting clean, I would just revert back. Because like he said, everybody wants to feel like they're improving. No one wants to feel like they're falling apart. So if I go back to smoking, if I go back to whatever drug I was doing, well, then I get to be like, well, trying to quit, I'm just taking my time, I'm just cutting back a little bit. So you feel like you're improving. Whereas if I just get sober and start moving into this better version of myself, well, now things are literally falling apart, because the old version of me is falling apart. There's no more smoking. There's no more getting high. There's no more passing out. There's no more hanging out until 3:00 in the morning. All of a sudden, who I used to be in the world that I've known just starts falling apart. And that is scary. It's very scary. I heard it in a quote the other day. It's like, the reason that it's so hard for us to like walk away from that version of us is because that's the strongest version of us up to date. Like, that's the strongest version of ourselves that we know. Even if it is a bad version, it's the strongest one we know and the most familiar. It's like, we need it. Oh man, I love when these guys put on these goofy outfits, man. Anytime you see Joe Rogan in a ridiculous outfit, shit's about to get real, man. I love conflict and resolution. And like, in your own life, try to see where you're doing it. Where are you constantly bringing up conflict and resolution? And then ask yourself, is there something beyond this conflict and resolution that I'm avoiding? Is there some kind of success or responsibility that I'm avoiding by getting mucked up and trying to quit drinking and trying to smoke and trying to read more? And is there something like just ask yourself, what's the one thing in life that I'm avoiding? What's the one thing that I'm scared of accomplishing? And like, ask yourself honestly. And answer honestly. And don't do it in your head. Write it down. Write down that sentence and look at it. And just be like, what is that thing that I'm avoiding? Because more than likely, if you start dealing with that thing, all of a sudden the thing that you're caught up in with conflict and resolution, all of a sudden those things will fall away or not seem as important, you know? Because in this whole thing that they're talking about of conflict and resolution, what it really is, and avoidance, what it really is you procrastinating. You're procrastinating towards the bigger goal, towards the more meaningful goal, and if I could even say, the more meaningful self. Like right now, if you are somebody like this self of yours is just kind of, you know, it's like right now, if I have this video to shoot, but I'm like, oh, what's going on with this hard drive? I got markers here. And oh, what's going on with this water? I don't know. Maybe I should clean this cup. Oh, there's lipstick on it. I should go and clean this. My wife was drinking this. Oh, what's going on? It's like I'm still improving. I'm improving my things around me, but I'm not doing the thing that I really have to do. I don't know, man. Just ask yourself. What is that thing that you're avoiding? Chances are the answer will be something scary, and chances are it'll be so worthwhile if you just tackle it head on. Don't be scared. I'm out. Peace.